All right, and we are now back with Imagine Williams. Nice to meet you, Imagine.
Hey.
And yeah, just tell people who might not know you, including me, because we just met like 10 minutes ago. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started with BSU, anything. Shoot.
Okay, so I'm Amagin Williams. I'm a psychology major here at Rutgers Camden and an urban studies minor. I got introduced to BSU as a freshman. I never knew what a BSU was before I came here. I went to a predominantly Caucasian school down in South Jersey. I'm from Atlantic City, if anyone doesn't know that.
Nice, I'm from Hamilton. So I know that area.
Yeah, so I went to Mainland Regional High School.
Okay, cool.
So there was no BSU. So BSU was something that was like a newfound like toy for me. That was like shiny and like nice. It was people that looked like me, sounded like me, and had same like emotions and thoughts about similar things that's going on in our community here at school.
Yeah.
And outside of school. So I don't know if people knew a former student who went here, Tina. She was a real big person that was in my life in BSU. She was the program coordinator at the time. She did the big fashion show that used to happen here through BSU, and I modeled for her my freshman year, and I just fell in love. Like every activity they had was so informal, very relaxed, but important to the culture and the people around, and the campus loved them. They were a great group of like students who were friends, and not just an activity just because they were there, but they really created a space that like was open for anybody to come. And even if you were shy, like she pulled girls who probably didn't think they would ever walk a runway out there having like predominantly so much confidence in like their just who they were. So it was nice because she drew the community together from people being designers from Camden or the surrounding area of Philly and South Jersey, or girls who did makeup on campus and hair. So she just really pulled from every diaspora of like just Black excellence of creating something beautiful as a fashion show. And it was great. That 2019 fashion show was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I got involved just because like I found this thing that was like, oh my God, I've never seen so many Black young people together, and I didn't have that. So I was like, I want to hang out with them.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I can imagine, just because like I grew up in southern Jersey as well, so I mean I can imagine like just that feeling of just coming onto campus and just being like, it's like a whole new world.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, definitely more used to like, beach girl vibe being from AC.
Yeah.
I used to hang out at the beach all the time. So this was like, oh my God, there's people that are like, wait, you go to the beach in the winter? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. And so like how would you say for you, like after that change, now being a part of a student org, being a part of BSU, how have you grown? How has it changed you, do you think? It's been such a positive experience.
I think as a person, it's definitely matured me and grown me into furthering my knowledge into the African American, just history, just struggles about people coming from just different places and how, little things can affect you. The struggles and adversities that we go through are just in various, like, spectrums. Like, for me, it was a big thing. Like, I came here and felt embraced for my hair. Like, I was not a girl who wore my hair out because of, hanging around more Caucasian women. Like, I straightened my hair a lot.
That was my sister's for a long time.
Yeah, and I went through such a big phase, and like I came here, and every girl was like, "Oh, I can braid your hair. I can do your hair. Let's go to the hair store." I didn't have a group of girls to say, "Let's go to the hair store," or not just being curious about my hair, but actually like caring about my hair. So those things really like helped me to be stronger and like being a Black woman in our society. That like we have these adversities, but there's a lot of us going through this, and you're not alone. So I think it just shaped my mind to know like there's more than just me going through this. And going forward, I just wanted to show other Black girls who may have the similar struggles or different struggles, like this is a space that you can struggle together, you could grow together, you could like explore who you are and feel safe about doing it. So I think it's just growing me to be like stronger in my identity as a Black woman.
Yeah, that's super cool. Have you found that now that, because you're part of the leadership, have you found that other people have started having that experience, like people coming in new? Like, have you found people really responding?
Yeah, I really feel like I know one of our events that we have all the time is our Black Table Talks, and we talk about things very minuscule as like what's going on campus. Like, do you want more events? But then just as high as like Kanye was a big thing our community was talking about. But like there's a conversation, it gets people's thoughts flowing. People have to be heard and understood, and you have to learn to understand and listen before you respond. And I feel like it gives all of us that space to feel safe, because in some of these settings in the world, we're not always heard, we're not always recognized, we're not always felt. And, we talk about things of like mental health and Black love and just like, growing up in a Black household.
Mhm.
And that ranges depending on if you're from, just the States, or if you have family from, the islands or Africa, like wherever your family comes
So
from.
different depending
Or if you're
on
in a mixed
where you are,
household
yeah.
of like a Black dad and a white mom, or Hispanic family and you're Afro-Latina, just so many diasporas of like,
Mhm.
Black is not one thing. Black does not mean one thing.
Yep.
We, are challenged by different, cultural things, different, challenges of our parents wanting us to succeed. And I think that talk has definitely brought people to say like, dang, like I have a space where, I can not only feel heard, but like people can, agree to disagree and not
Mhm.
argue or not put me down for feeling how I feel. And I see people kind of like growing and changing and like, loving those talks. Like we
Yeah.
had one, that was our first event for Black History Month this month. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a very open space. We had probably the most, student engagement that we've had.
That's
And it was
awesome.
nice. No one like, fell into tears or anything.
Mhm.
But like people were just open to hearing like, like, no, I don't agree with that, but this is how I feel. And be like, you know what, I understand how you feel.
Mhm.
I stand where I stand, but like I could see your point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful tool going into the world where like people are gonna disagree with you. People are not ever gonna hear what you have to say.
Mhm.
But you should be able to voice it and still understand the opposing side.
That's really important.
Yeah.
What was one of your favorite moments from the past one, or even maybe like a point or a point of view that really struck you?
I think when we were talking about just we had a conversation on like the way Black men, women and men, interact in relationships, and I thought it was just
Mhm.
interesting because I think we're both hurting on both ends of a spectrum.
Yeah.
That are like fighting against each other and not really working together to hear each other.
Mhm.
So I thought it was interesting because I feel like, as a Black woman, we feel some type of way when our Black men don't, always drift to our side or date outside of our race.
Mhm.
But then there's reasons to why they do that or to why we feel this way. And I don't think we have that conversation
Mhm.
on just like how we feel and why we feel these ways or past, traumas that have got us to this point.
Yeah.
And that it's not just like, he doesn't like Black girls.
Mhm.
Or, she's too strong of a Black woman. It's so much deeper and complex. So I think it's nice that, like, we had that conversation because not everyone feels that way. Not everyone looks at it that way.
Yeah.
So it was nice to just, hear some different points of views because, again, we come from so many different places.
Mhm.
People might not feel the way. You could just actually like who you like. And it's not anything intentional about
Yeah.
you as a woman or as a man that, like, you're not strong enough or you're not good enough.
Mhm. It's funny you say that because I had that experience as well with my family. Yeah, they would always be like, oh, you only go for one type of different things. I'm like, I just like who I like. There's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of different. Just say black is not one thing. Like
Yep.
you said, it goes so many different ways. But it's interesting using that table talk kind of to give people more of a voice because one of the things that I was curious about from your perspective was like I think in our generation there like are mainly two sets of people. People fall in the middle, but there's people who are really passionate about fighting for what's right, standing up, like expressing themselves, finding causes that they care about. And then there's a large section of people who, because of just everything going on in the world, can be kind of like apathetic to it all. And they're like, how's my voice actually going to be heard? I'm not the one making the laws. I'm not the one having power, different things like that. So like how, as an organization, how do you find that you can reach some of those people who may not feel like they have a voice?
I do think it is interesting because we're still young. I
Yeah.
think it's a good combination of you got to have these fun events
Mhm.
that like give people, that release of just like we're at school, we're learning, we're trying to get that higher education, but you could let your hair down and then you cross over into those table talks like, but let's talk about some things that are going on outside of these, Rutgers Camden walls that we can, challenge you, or maybe you haven't heard about it, but you
Mhm.
don't know about classes going on here teaching you, or organizations that are talking about voting and how to get involved, or just in the Camden community, like, knowing who your mayors are and who's in your legislation in the area, so that you know that your voice can be heard. There is ways that like you can make a difference. So I think it does start just by giving people that sense of like, this is fun,
Mhm.
life can be fun, but there is a serious moment to life that is like, this is how you make change come. Like
Yeah.
people weren't just doing this, all these people we talk about during Black History Month weren't just hanging out, drinking, or doing all these things,
Yeah.
or at a social gathering, a party. People were putting in work. People were
Mhm.
talking about things, having these conversations that were difficult and hard, but they were conversations. So
Mhm.
these conversations then turned into action and then turned into reality.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be where we're at if they didn't have those harsh conversations on what's going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this for us anymore. I want to have this. So I think, just bringing those things in of like a safe group, a safe environment, that like you can have this conversation. We're not going to like, come shoot you down for your thoughts, but we're going to embrace you. That then it's like, well, then how do I go about the next step of like getting my voice heard?
Mm-hmm.
And we can direct you to the groups that have more engagement in those things. If you want to get into something in politics or just in the community, we can build you up to getting where you need to go, getting you the resources, especially in Camden. There's so many that want to hear what the young people have to say.
Yeah.
So
how did it start for you? How did you kind of get on this path?
I think it just was like I knew that there was so much more to our culture and just this environment of like change than just our fashion and
Mm-hmm.
our culture of like hair and nails. Like there's just a bigger group of like I said, in the 60s, the Harlem Renaissance, there was people really talking about things,
Mm-hmm.
really putting their art to work, and there's so many talented people in our like groups that were like, you gotta want to fight for these things. So I think it was just me, like, I know I love to talk. I have a big voice.
Mm-hmm.
I may not know where I'm going all the time with my voice,
Same
but
here.
I know that I could like, push people to be like, hey, I think you have like something going on. Let's,
Mm-hmm.
use it, or give me the ideas, or I have a lot of ideas. So I feel like it just was, I'm a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could be the voice for some other people or give people that push for like, that people don't have in their homes or in their friend groups, I could push people towards that like, why always use your voice to just talk about gossip or,
Mm-hmm.
just with your friends. You could use that voice for something bigger and something greater while you're having fun.
Yes, because that's the important thing, yeah. Because life is fun, but like you said, there is that serious aspect to it. How do you balance those kind of like two halves while also being a student? Because it's like, you have, when you're in advocacy, different things like that, there is like that social responsibility and you take it seriously, like you said, which is pressure, but then you have the pressure of being a student as well. How do you balance all that?
I think that, I don't know how to explain it, but like I think I'm a pretty like relaxed person when it comes to a lot of things. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, I balance between like being very just open-minded to people, or
Mm-hmm.
at least growing to be that.
Yeah.
And knowing that like, I'm on my journey and I may be able to, have a very serious side, but know a time and a place.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody might not. But like we're young, we're all trying to figure it out and balance it ourselves. So I think it's just, the effort every day you have to put into, I'm in a student leader position. People do look at me and say, hey, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So certain things, you don't dive into all the way, but you look at things of like, I'm here to help. I'm here to love. I'm here to be kind. I'm here to, be a friend. I'm here to have fun with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also here to like, guide you to greatness and
Yeah.
want to help you through your journey just as much as, like I said, the BSU before me was like, hey, I'll take you under my wing and we can have fun outside of here, but like, let me show you what people need, and this is the space that people need.
Mm-hmm.
And, over COVID, I definitely didn't know where BSU was going,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely have felt like, BSU needed to still have a home, and I wasn't going to let it die. So, like, that seriousness that I took was just like, I felt like it was a baby. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just leave a baby by itself.
Yeah.
It has to be nurtured. It has to be loved. It has to time put in. So I think it's just a balance of like you wanting to see something grow,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be serious about it, and you're also going to step away and have a little bit of fun, and you're going to come back and be like, no, wait, this is still my baby. I have to take
It's
it
like the
serious.
consistency.
Yep.
It's interesting. So you had BSU throughout COVID,
Yes.
and so that was a challenge, right? I can imagine that was.
Yeah, even coming back, like I said, so COVID hit when I was a sophomore,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like learning like the positions.
Are you a
and-
senior now, or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully graduating in the spring.
Senior.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed, fingers crossed. But we left, and that whole team graduated, and people were leaving. And then they were like, hey guys, here's BSU. And we were like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just was a member, and like, we had like, little positions that were connected to the e-board that were like, you were volunteering or, being under them to become the next part. And we just kind of got wiped away.
Wow.
So then it was like, okay, step into shoes that you've never stepped in before.
Yeah.
But, last year was, a little bit of a struggle, but like, I think we're back better than ever. Our student engagement has been great. Last semester, if you weren't there, the talent show was amazing. Our Friendsgiving was fun. This semester, we've been like, just, like I said, having fun We'll be going to the African American Museum at the end of this month.
Yeah, you've got a couple events coming up.
Yeah, even this week, ASA has been back. If no one doesn't know, they're back and ready for action.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a family feud with them this Wednesday at 7.
That's on the 15th, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, we're just hitting it, full force,
Mm-hmm.
and just making sure people know what's going on. We're staying engaged. That Instagram page is always buzzing with stuff.
That's hard. It's hard to keep keeping an Instagram page up is harder than people might know. So good on you.
If you're not a social media person, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't post in your own page as much,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely is a struggle to be
Yep.
like, oh my God, let me post today.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you make that initial post, you're like, okay, it's up.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the students want to see you asking questions, you engaging,
Yep.
posting quotes,
Mm-hmm.
having polls, like, being an actual, like, I think a media base
Yeah.
for your student-led organization is definitely like hard. But, being connected with a lot of organizations, I think, having friends in other organizations, helps us keep on top of each other. Like, hey, post for me, you post for me, I got
Mhm.
you. It keeps your page going a little more.
Yeah, no. Justin's helped me out with that with the
Yes.
radio club.
It's a
Thank
lot.
you, Justin.
This is horrible.
Yes, it's a lot.
One thing that you said a little while ago that kind of like, I don't know, it caught me when you were just talking about how like some of the people that we talk about during Black History Month, like putting in the real work. What does the real work look like as opposed to kind of performative activism, which we've all kind of started to have our radars up for? How do you tell when someone's really putting in the work?
I do think, like, I have a big issue on this. Like, I tell people all the time, we post, like, things happen in our world, we post about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. The world needs to see some of these things. But, like I said, having these conversations, going down to your mayor's office, being in your student organizations, talking to your student leaders, like, hey, are we having any, talks or rallies, or what's going on with the voting at our school, what's going on with the leadership, really understanding the people in your spaces and not just being upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a step past being upset.
Yeah.
There's that action moment. And I tell people, like, even having a student organization, there's moments that, like, y'all are hanging out, having fun, and you're like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, listen, we put 20 hours outside of the event to plan the event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what life, There's something happening in this country that you don't like. When people are rallying and getting, protest and, doing all these petitions and stuff, those are extra hours you're spending, not with your family, not with your significant other, not with your friends.
There's only 24 hours in a
not
day.
at work, but you make that 24-hour stretch.
Yeah.
And, it's because you want to see something happen, not today, but 6 months from today.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they're passing these laws, you're like, listen, I don't want that to happen. So let me see how I can counteract it or get some people behind me that feel the same way. So it's that, like, extra hour you spend a day.
Yeah.
That's not your normal schedule getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting. So it's almost kind of like you can tell who keeps the same energy after
After
the
the-
present thing happened
yep.
that they're mad about. Are you still mad about it 6 months later? Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. That's an interesting way to think about it. Sorry, yeah, I never thought about that because that's something that I've always wondered is, like I see some people and I'm like, can I actually trust that you're doing the work? Yeah, so.
And I don't know, in our generation, we are beautiful with our technology. It spreads the word worldwide, and that's amazing. Excuse me. But I don't always know if that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it does start small in your community. We are in Camden. It's a growing city right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the rise of being something great. Are people getting involved in it? Are we putting our hands in the pot before the pot gets snatched?
Mm-hmm.
Are we really making sure, like, people of Camden and we are students of this area are being heard when they're making these big decisions on what's happening? Like, people don't know what's going on Market Street, that they want to make it a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Or that, the waterfront is an up and rising, place for real estate, that there is so much real estate around here.
I didn't know that.
People don't really know that these things are going on, or that, like, the hospital's trying to further itself out into Camden. These things are things that, like, we are young people in the world. This is an environment that we're in, and it's very minuscule to think, like, oh, Camden, but this is where your voice can be heard. So yes, Camden, or yes, wherever you want to go back and put your hands in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, maybe you don't feel like you're going to be heard by, Congress.
Yeah.
You could be heard by the city council of Camden, or your council at school, your deans. You can always talk to them here. So there's just little things I don't think people, know or maybe understand or have the, further knowledge about that, like, you could get educated on. We're all trying to be educated here.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, like, how would you how would you recommend someone who doesn't feel like they are educated and they want to get more educated, specifically, let's say, people who want to be allies for things like that. How would you recommend that they kind of get actually educated, like you said, not, performance wise?
I would say, first, whatever organization you're in, check with your student leaders on the
Mhm.
connections that you have. Because, like I said, BSU has so many connections as far as our alumni, all the student offices we're connected to, like the diversity and inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
our advisor, Dr. Wright, he's very well of like knowing people in the community. We can get in contact with the mayor or any of our, I work for Idea Art Center.
Mm-hmm.
They know people. You get involved, and it's not always about what you know, it's who you know, to
Mhm.
then get what you want to know. And we can connect you to the people that you need to be informed by to then get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
So once you connect with those people, we can just, like I said, we're pushing you to greatness. We're moving you on through these, factors of like, hey, I want to know this. Who do I need to get in contact with? It's like, well, actually, I have a friend who's in, the political science, department.
Mhm.
Maybe I could get you connected with their head of, the department and, get you the knowledge you want to know on voting or
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in the city. When is voting happening?
Yeah.
I might not know, but I know somebody who can help you or
Mhm.
get you to who you need to know. So, knowing people is always a great thing. But when you connect it to a student organization, that, resume of like all the people you do know is just so wide.
Yeah.
Because there's people like, hey, what's BSU doing? And they haven't been in school since 2012.
Mhm.
And it's like, you want to get involved? And we're like, yes, like, please, like, you're in this field, we could get you connected here. So if you want to get involved and know a little bit more, ask, because then maybe somebody that we know can help you.
Mhm.
Or, if we don't know, we're going to hit up another student org like, hey, we have students that want to know about this. Are you guys having any programming? Are you doing something that we can advocate for
Yeah.
and post about so that we can get more people to come for you to your event?
Mhm.
Those connections are the best way to get people, informed to the knowledge that they're looking for.
And it's interesting, what you didn't say was go to this YouTube page or go to this Instagram page or go, watch this, read this articles, your like involvement, actually real life experience, learning from people, asking real people.
The questions. I think that's a big gray area from anybody who suffered through this COVID, time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. TikTok informed me about a lot of things I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
when it came to, Juneteenth became a big thing over COVID.
Yeah.
People didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
However, not as many people as they should have went and read about it,
Mm-hmm.
went and researched, and not only just through YouTube or Google or someone's TikTok page, but went to a library, went to their city and seen, what happened? What's our Black history in the city?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one asks these questions locally because then the knowledge is right there. There's a library on our campus, and do many people use it? They put books up all the time about what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
things that happen in history, what's going on for that month. They advocate for books written by people. You know what I mean? So I do think it is, this disconnect of that people interaction of like, people know a lot.
Yeah.
People can direct you to the, research articles, the books, the papers that they've done, all this documentation and research that's happening, not just the Instagram, not
Mhm.
just the YouTube, not just the TikTok page. There's actual hardcore,
Tangible things.
yes, evidence that was peer reviewed by a board,
Mhm.
things that are legitimatized. Not that every literature is, to the full extent, the same way media isn't, but a little closer to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. I want to keep going on that point, but I have a different question I wanted to get to before we wrap up. Time is like flying. But one thing I was curious, so a lot of students are looking at where they're going to be working, internships. They might already have a job lined up if it's their senior year, different things like that. And like for Black students specifically, going into the workforce, there's a lot of different things you have to look out for. And I wanted to know, in your opinion, what are kind of some like red flags, green flags, different things from like a workplace culture point of view, or when you're looking at different employers, knowing, am I going to be allowed to be myself here? Different things like that, because a lot of people are looking for where they want to work, and that's an important part of your identity when you get older.
So I know, like, soon, hopefully keep your eyes out. We're trying to do like a career internship mixer
Mm-hmm.
and an informative thing about grad school, because I don't think we get that moment of where do we want to be,
Mm-hmm.
how do we want to feel. We kind of get put into college, and people are rooting for us to make it out,
Mm-hmm.
but then we don't know what we're doing when we're making it out, or what we're
Or if
looking
where we
for.
go is where we need to be.
So I do think, I even am struggling with this, like, what do I
Me
want to
too.
do?
Mm-hmm.
I do know that for me, I learned that I want to move into urban education just because I want this question to be answered not when you're in your senior year of college, but answered when you're a sophomore,
Yep.
maybe even in elementary school, that I want to look for people and things that feel like me, look like me, understand me.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely advocate for people, mental health space being a big thing because, like I said, our voices get shut down, our voices don't get heard. Our appearances are, altered all the time depending on what workplace we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, looking for places that don't just shout diversity and inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
but actually you see it being done, like somewhere that's not just like, oh, we're looking for a diverse person, but then when you say your name, they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep.
And or you come in and your hair is braided and you feel like you need to, take the braids out, or you come in, maybe in a little bit more of a colorful, colored palette of looking formalized, but just a little brighter,
Mm-hmm.
and you're toning it down. I think those things, doing your research about where you're working and looking into the history of the establishment you're working for, definitely do a deep dive.
Yeah.
Like the same way they do a deep dive on you, looking at your Instagram, your Snapchat,
That's
your
smart.
TikTok.
That's really smart.
You need to do a deep dive on the organization or
Mm-hmm.
the programs you're going into. Just looking at, like, for me, an employer, if I don't see a lot of people that look like me, it kind of scares me. Now, if I'm going to be a first, just know it might be a little bit of a struggle of some of the things that the way you think or the way you view things. It's going to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're up for the fight, kudos to you. I think it's a very commendable thing to break open those doors for people to be in these spaces. But if you want to feel a little bit more included and have those people, you should do a deep dive and know who your employer looks for, what they're looking for. That sometimes our credentials can be the exact same thing, but our presentation, our appearance is that one step behind that we don't have to the person we're walking in the door with that we're competing for a spot for. So, just looking at these things and seeing, like, do they have people that look like us and feel like us? And, if you can, maybe look around and see other people who've worked here before.
Mm-hmm.
If like I said, if it's an organization that you're volunteering for, are they, advocating for what they're really advocating for? Or is it just a poster that they're posting and it's not what the, environment actually contains?
Yeah.
So those deep dives, like I said, they deep dive you, you deep dive them.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you're supposed to be happy at and doing what you love, or something that you like at least.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're going to be comfortable there, because you could like something and then get uncomfortable in a space. And don't get me wrong, uncomfortability is a process for change, but I don't know if you want to change all the time in your work environment.
It's
or
important. Yeah.
change who you are because of your work environment.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that's a really smart way to look at it, because I think a lot of times we just look at, does it line up with our skill set? Is it in our major field or whatever? And what's the salary? But there's so much more. When you're working with someone day in, day out, that's a major part of your life. If you feel like you have to change yourself, at a fundamental level going into a workplace, that's psychologically that even has an effect.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's already so many adversities that happen in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need work as an adult to be the next step of, like, a breakdown.
Yeah.
Or, a personal crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a thought. And it's, like I said, it needs to happen, but these talks need to happen when you're younger so that you understand, like, not saying we're, excluding ourselves out of things or not want to be a part of things, but you need to know that the place you're going into really fights and understands the people that they're, having as their staff, and that they're gonna,
and that it's a two-way street.
Yeah, that they're gonna value you the same way you value having your position,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's not always a currency thing, because your emotional status
It's worth so much more.
It's worth so much more in the long run.
Yeah. So deep dives, interesting. I gotta remember that, because I'm looking at places too.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing to think about,
Mm-hmm. One more question before we wrap up, and then we'll go into songs that you picked for the rest of the show. So, from what I'm seeing here on Engage, you guys have a trip to the National Museum of African History and Culture in D.C.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because it sounds really interesting. I had no idea before this morning that was happening, so tell me a little bit more.
So, last year we went to the Jazz Museum in Harlem, which was...
Wait, really?
Yes, it was beautiful.
That's
We ate
so
at
cool.
Sylvia's, which is like a landmark in Harlem.
Yeah.
It was great. But, COVID was still a big factor last year. We didn't have
Mhm.
as much student engagement. I am announcing right now, the trip is full. Like, I have people on the wait list. People have been calling or texting me like,
Mhm.
hey, I want to get on this trip. I really wish we could get another bus,
Mhm.
but those lovely luxury buses are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanted people to be able to go, really learn about the history. I have not been, so I'm excited myself to
Mhm.
experience this. I heard that if you don't know, it is a little traumatic and a little, emotional to go in there and really go through the process of everything of our history. But they said when you get to the top, you feel great because we've made strides and achievements and we are flourishing. We still have processes and ways to go, but we're getting there. So it'll be a great day. It'll be a long day, a day that we definitely have some great conversations on that little 2-hour bus ride about what we expect. And then when we're coming back, what we felt and how we feel. We'll definitely probably debrief a little bit on the bus.
Sounds like a whole journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to take it. You know what I mean? It's definitely going to be an eye-opener. Like I said, there's probably things that I don't know that I'm excited to learn. And I want people to feel like that too. Like, being able to learn and experience and understand that our culture is so deep. Our culture derives from some traumatic things, but we have, risen to the occasion. I love the thought of like a lotus. It's born in the mud. And I think that's, slavery was born in a dark place.
Yeah.
But we have grown into something much beautiful as a people. And so I'm just excited for people to really experience that all together. And us to go as a group of 40, or I think it's like 50 people, that's a large group to take all together.
And you had a wait list too. That's a lot of people wanted. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, if we could have got another bus chartered, you guys, I would advocate for it so hard because when I seen the numbers, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this many people wanted to go. And it's exciting. Like I said, I'm excited. We're going to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning together.
Wow.
So remember, be ready, pack a little snack, bring a pillow. We're going to be sleeping on that bus. But we're going to have a good day. So, and like I said, it's important just for us to really know these things. And if we can't go, I told people like maybe we'll try to sneak over to Philly to go to that African American Museum. That's a little closer. We did that off campus, like not as a group, but like just say, hey guys, we're going over one night and get on the PACO and have a little bit of an experience there as well.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds
I'm
like
like
a really
countdown
fun
2 days, like 2 weeks. So 2 days till our other event. So like I said, Black History Month was loaded and stacked with some good things.
Yeah.
And hopefully we also get to experience DC. Pray to God there's good weather that day because I want to walk around and have some fun. So it's going to be a great day.
Yeah. Is there anything else that is going on like for the rest of the semester that you want people to know about right off the bat? Anything else that you guys have coming up?
I can say keep your eyes out. We always do our All About Hair in March. We're going to bring back our basketball tournament because the gentlemen really loved it. And ladies, please, I need some competition. I'm sponsoring a team. I'll pay for your admission. I want some ladies on the court.
So it's a basketball tournament?
We did a basketball tournament back in November. It was for 76ers tickets. It was a great time. They played their hearts out. It was good. It was very organized.
Yeah.
And the team that won, it was the white team. I can't think of all of the gentlemen's names. But they went to the game. They had a great time at the 76ers game. They had fun. So, March Madness is a big thing in the basketball culture. So we said we're going to bring back March Madness for Rappers Camden and, have some real competition. So that'll be coming up. Keep your eyes. Like I said, we're going to do this career mixer/panel. That should be happening in the beginning of March. We're trying to really put our foot on the gas pedal and make sure that's like everything that we need from the Camden community, our alumni, our grad programs at our school, and really getting people connected to anybody who's faculty that's diverse in our faculty, because I know a lot of people are saying, like, we don't know faculty who's, African American or any other diverse, from diverse communities.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to make sure we put our minds and get a good group of, advocates for that. And then later we'll be having a Met Gala. I'm not sure to announce what the theme will be, but just know and be ready to be dressed to impress.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, so that will be, a little bit in replacement of our fashion show, but where everybody can get dressed up. And hopefully we have a little red carpet, a little photo op where we could, have some shine right there. So, like I said, the semester, we're just going to keep putting our foot down and being like, listen, BSU is here.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And so where's the best place that people can stay updated for all
Always
these
on the
things?
Instagram.
Instagram? Okay.
We make sure Engage is loaded too, but like I said, the Instagram is where I'm always posting. I try to be a good person to post all the time.
And your handle for Instagram is your handle so that people know to find
at RUC, at RUC BSU.
Okay.
I almost just said my own handle.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. You always
It's
there's so many different accounts, especially when you're managing social media.
Yes.
Awesome.
Clicking back and forth is crazy. I'm like, I have a DM, not for me.
Well, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. I was very excited. I was nervous. I can say, guys, I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna ask me?
I was nervous too. It's
But
natural. It always happens.
this was fun. I definitely enjoyed it. You know, speaking about why I love BSU. Like I said, I'm sad to be graduating, but I'm happy to pass this torch down to
Mhm.
a new generation, and I'll be around, so they can always hit me up and be like, hey, Imagine, what can we do? How
Yeah.
do we do this? Because I just love it so much. Like I said, it was a baby to me that
Mhm.
I thought that, like, I just wanted to make sure it grows and prospers into something greater.
Yeah.
That maybe next year they'll take a bus trip and they'll be having 3 and 4 buses.
I bet you they will because it's in such good shape this semester.
Yes, so,
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
no problem.
And now we're going to go into your song picks.
Yay.
So we're starting with I Want You by Marvin Gaye. And then I'll close out the show. But thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.